Welcome, everyone, to another Round the Rotary with me, JP Warren. And with us today, we have good buddy of mine, Taylor Janca, the managing partner and co-founder of Downhole Well Solutions. You may have seen a lot of their online marketing on LinkedIn. How it's y'all done a tremendous job on that, by the way. And I kind of want to have you on today to discuss. I mean, you have a startup company, and I'm gonna let you get into this once we begin. But you have a startup company that has done quite the following and seems to be very successful. And I just want to kind of get your perspectives on what's going on in our current industry today, and currently the stay-at-home orders and stuff like that, and just kind of get your perspective on certain things. So why don't you kind of give us a background on yourself and where you've been and what brought you to where you're at today?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me on, JP, and appreciate the compliment. So my brother Chandler and I, we co-founded DWS, or Downhole Well Solutions, back in end of February, beginning of March of 2019. So we're just past a year old. And Chandler was obviously kind of one of your customers back in the days, right? He sat in the seat of an engineer.
Correction. I was trying to make him one of my customers. Go on.
Well, depending on who you talk to, he's kind of a jerk.
I'm kidding. No, he's not. Great guy.
But no, and I was on the service side, obviously, for sales last 10 years, directional side. And so we teamed up with now our partner to build this friction reduction tool.
And what's the name of that tool?
It's called the Power Glide.
Okay. Thank you.
And so we've been commercial with that tool since basically June of last year. And we're having some really, really good success with the tool. And obviously the market is changed and is changing, right now with everything that's going on. But yeah, short version, we've been in business a little over a year now. And that is the primary thing that we provide as a service company, is this friction reduction tool as you're drilling these horizontal wells.
So talk about that. You went from vice president at was it Lean, correct?
Yep.
You were vice president at Lean, and your brother was at Earthstone at the time, I believe. Correct. And so going from that to kind of doing a startup service company and running it, I mean, tell me about that change for you personally, and if you could speak to your brother, that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was kind of the main thing that we had always kicked around that we thought we could have some success with. Was I felt like I'd had the opportunity to meet a lot of people around the Houston area and honestly a lot of other places in the U.S. basically wherever wells were being drilled, and Chandler sitting in the seat of the end user or the customer. We thought that would be just a really good dynamic. You actually have the guy that's running the operations that knows what that end user is wanting, et cetera. And then in terms of like a sales and marketing side, I feel like I was able to see a lot from being at Lean and just seeing how important customer service was, and the price competition and just everything that's been evolving with the whole service industry over the past several years. So it's been really it's been really good, just because Chandler knows what he's really good at, and I know what he's really good at, and then vice versa. So it's kind of like we don't, they just complement each other well. And then with our partner also, you basically got the guy who can design the tool, the guy who knows how to set up the tool, and then hopefully with me, a guy that can get it in front of the right people to give us an opportunity. So we feel like we've been really blessed with a good partnership between the three of us, because we all know what we're good at and try to kind of stay in those lanes, and it comes together for kind of a complete just a cohesive team.
Well, it seems like you're leveraging everyone's strengths. You know what I mean? And that sounds, that sounds like the makings of a great team. And kind of going back to you said, sales and marketing, y'all are killing it on LinkedIn. I mean, y'all's presence, y'all have gone to almost you're above 1,000 followers right now on LinkedIn. And I think some of your posts personally, and this actually has been talked around throughout the industry, people have complimented your posts and have discussed it. And kind of what's your strategy when it comes to, I guess, your your branding of DWS?
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of discuss. There's two parts to that. One is I don't do that on my own. We have a guy that we were able to link up with that was a friend of a friend, and kind of put us in touch. This guy already had a job. He was doing it more as a favor to help us out, and once again, appreciate the compliments. We've had a lot of people that said, "Hey, who's doing it for you? It looks really good." And we're not trying to keep this guy just to ourselves. He just said, "Hey, I'm going to do this for you guys, but I don't want this turning into a big deal." So we were really, really fortunate to be able to link up with him, and he's just a really creative guy, and we kind of just took the ropes off of him. We kind of said, "Hey, we don't know how to do this. We've seen some of the content and ideas that you produce, so just run with it, and be really creative. Try to do something that's different." And so for us, I feel like he enjoys doing it because he's kind of got free reign. I mean, he obviously runs every idea by us and makes sure he doesn't want to say anything that's incorrect or put out there. But I think it gives him the freedom to be creative about it. And it was really big for us. One of the main reasons we started spending a little bit of money on the social media or marketing side was because we were a startup, right? And we were going to take on, a couple of large service companies that provide the same tool as we do. So, establishing our brand from the get-go was really important. And this guy he produced some like really cool, different content than what I had seen. And so, and then as we've been going, it's a combination of building the brand, advertising and promoting your product so people are informed about what's different about it, any mile markers you've reached, et cetera. And then at the same time, trying to be broadcast a good message or a good, ambassador for the oil field or service companies. And so kind of those three things are what we try to accomplish with that. But we're very fortunate to have him as kind of a partner helping, that with us, because it's kind of like some people can paint and some people can't, and we definitely can't paint. So,
well, I think I was one of the people that asked you at the DFW AD meeting about who you used. I think I've asked you who you used.
You did. Yeah, you did. And I think everybody thinks we try to just rat hole this guy because we don't want him doing, but we try to be,
that's why I brought you on, to expose his name.
What it is
right now on Round the Rotary podcast. That's right.
Well, we're not there yet, but hopefully things don't.
Hopefully once we get there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So as a startup, and I again, reviewing your stuff, you're building a warehouse, right? A shop?
Yes.
So how is, I guess, with everything going on and kind of, the world stopping and the industry, the activity going down, how is that affecting, I guess, your projects?
So, yeah, I mean, JP, like, and I'm sure we'll get into some of this too, but like even with our team members or employees that we have right now, we try to be really honest and transparent about where we're at, what is the reality of what's going on and all that. And so, you rewind time, it feels like forever ago, but it's 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? When oil busted below 50 and, on that Thursday and then Friday, it's in the low 40s. And then on Monday, it just keeps going. So everything has happened so quickly on the negative side. And so 4 weeks ago, we're excited about the new office space and we still are, but excited about it because frankly, we needed the room. We were growing systematically, but we were growing really, really fast and we just needed more warehouse space to house and turn tools and et cetera. And so then it gets a little scary, 4 weeks ago, because you're going, man, I don't even know what the final rig count is going to look like, who's going to be there, who isn't. And so we looked at options about, hey, is there any way that we can hold off on this a little bit or wait? And the honest answer is there wasn't. We had an obligation with our contract, and so we have to keep moving forward with it. But it's still something that we know that we're going to need. It's just it makes it a little scary or uncertain,
Right.
if you're being honest right now, just because uh, you know we just need the dust to even settle to kind of establish a
To
game.
see what it looks like after.
That's right.
And so not to interrupt, sorry about that, but in the times of uncertainty right now, not knowing what it looks like after the dust settles, what kind of messages? I mean, you mentioned transparency to your team, but I guess as a leader of a company, how would you communicate what's going on, and what messages do you tell your team?
Yeah. So even 4 weeks ago, when oil prices started dropping, we do basically like a Monday morning operations meeting where we try to fill in, whether it's the shop guys or field guys, or our office manager, just what's coming up this week, what to prepare for. So we've been doing that every Monday since we started, and we basically told them we didn't know, this coronavirus hadn't quite started kicking up to the level it's gotten to at that time, but we basically saw oil prices, all that. So we kind of just started being honest with people, like, listen, this is probably going to drag down commodities in some way, shape, or form, on top of what it was going to do on its own anyways. And so we just started being honest with them and saying, listen, there could be some changes happening, negative to the market, reduction in rig count, which in turn it could be negative for us. And so we just kept doing that, filling them in each week as stuff was changing. And we started running different models about how to navigate it. The problem is you'd run a model one day on, okay, what can I do to reduce costs here, save a little bit here, to not have to worry about or consider thinking, about layoffs or furloughs. But the landscape, as every time you'd run a model, the next day it would change because it dropped more, or you hear this operator is going to do this. And so it was really hard to do. But the main thing was just being honest with them about where the market stood. And a lot of the guys that we have are seasoned oil field service hands. So it's not the first time they've seen this. So a lot of them could see it coming also. But they appreciated the fact of at least we were talking about it.
Right.
So that's kind of the way we handled it.
So during times like this, I mean, I guess with a moving target, something that changes probably 2 to 3 times a day when you're doing your forecasting and models, how do companies right now, I mean, what are you doing to stay relevant? What is DWS doing to stay relevant right now?
Man, that's a great word, by the way, because we actually may be doing a social media post about this. I did a little video yesterday. I'm not sure if we'll send it out or not, but I did.
Well, now you have to.
That's right.
Go on.
So
now you have
to. Thank you for the segue in there. But I talked about it, just hit me over the weekend about how powerless I am right now, but not in a negative way, more in a way of humility, right? Like, I mean, I can't control. I know we can do things like obviously abide by the social distancing rules and what different counties and regulatory departments say, but there's nothing I can do to stop this virus or to keep it from there's nothing personally that Taylor can do, or I can't change the price of oil for sure, but I believe we can all still be relevant, right? And you just use that word right there, which is so the way you treat people. So the way we treat people at our work, the way we treat our vendors, and the way we can. There's obviously, and we'll probably get into this as far as market conditions, but a lot of job losses, and unfortunately, if I'm being real, I think we've just started.
I do too.
That process. And I don't care whether you're talking oil and gas or, some other stuff may rebound quicker, but and it's scary. So we can be relevant in the way that we carry ourselves and treat people and respond to certain things, spouses, kids, et cetera. And so kind of backtracking to answer your question, like what are we doing, and then what am I doing and Chandler to be relevant. And it's hard some days, but trying to have a good attitude each day. I mean, purposefully going, that I may be nervous this day, or I may be scared, or I may be mad, or whatever, but trying to have a good attitude and realize that, there's only so much that we can do with what's available right now. And so I think that's really big. And that is a great word, relevant, because that's really what you can be right now, is relevant for multiple.
I think so. I mean, right now, what I'm seeing is everyone's in their homes, everyone's hunkered down, everyone's heads in the sands. Everyone's worried that their job might be next. And it's scary times. It's very uncertain, scary times for a lot of people, not just oil and gas, but every industry right now.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's how do we as a community pick each other up? How do we communicate, I guess, keep people motivated? How do we stay relevant? How do we stay in front of people? Not just our friends or our customers as a point of sale, but I mean, these are relationships that we built over, years and years and years of, I mean, I've met you through several different industry events. I mean, relationships just evolve that way. So I think it's important for people during this time to continue to reach out to people. If you can't do breakfast runs or lunches, or you have to stay indoors, get creative with people.
That's right.
Circle people on Zoom, or circle people on whatever app that you want to stay in front and communicate to people. And if you're not doing a sell, just to check in on them. Because I know that they're as stressed as, I mean, customers are as stressed as service people. I mean, everyone's stressed out right now. So I think it's crucial to just keep those relationships going.
No, that's a great point. And listen, you're a sales guy, so am I, and I struggle with it right now, because your natural reaction is rig counts pulling back and doing all that, and you're wanting to try to load the wagon for anything that either has fallen off or is potentially going. And so you naturally, even you want to be selling, and I'm having to, and I still do send out or reply or send different things for stuff that was kind of, in the hopper about stuff, but I'm having to really remind myself that right now is probably not the time to be selling. And it's hard.
That's a great point.
It's hard for me to say that, because that's my natural, I think all sales guys, if they're driven, that's what they're always trying to do, is, trying to find the next opportunity type deal. But just being there, like you said, with those relationships, a lot of your customers are not just customers, they're friends. And so I've just been trying to check in on them, whether it's a phone call or a text, and not bringing up work, not asking about, man, is this rig still staying or is it going away? And just trying to, check in on them. Some of them live close by us, hey, I'm running to the store, and if they have some toilet paper or paper towels, you need some, we'll throw it off. Just anything like that you can do, just checking in and letting them know that you're there. But I think right now people got to be really careful about pitching your product right now can be, I think, sometimes not the best thing to do. And it's hard, but.
I agree. And I have seen some companies actually utilize their product and make a quick adaptation to the current market. For example, Kelsey Dean with Tiger Oilfield Rentals, I mean, they are staging their stuff to be quarantine COVID-19 response offshore. And I think that was such a smart, quick, if you have the product to do something like that, to kind of switch your focus and kind of adapt to the disaster dumpster fire that we're in right now.
No, absolutely. Hey, I saw a small directional company, Kingsley Directional and MWD Direct on Facebook the other day. I'm not throwing out necessarily a plug for them, but just it was something that caught my eye. I mean, they were in there and they're making face masks and shields right now as a way to try to help out and disperse. So 100%. I mean,
but that's the thing. We don't have to plug it, but we can say, hey, I've noticed this, and I think it's a very smart tactic in response to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once the dust settles and the oil field kind of, the U.S. Oil field kind of wakes up from the ashes, how do you see, what does that look like to you?
What
does the new oil field look like to you?
What a great question. And so I'm not normally a negative person, but what I am trying to do right now is follow some people that are a lot smarter than I am to try to get a gauge on where they think maybe this bottoms out, whether that's time frame and or rig count. And I hope that I am wrong, but I'm trying to be real about where we're at as an industry and what it may get to before things, bottom out and start to climb out of it. And, last Friday, U.S. land rig count, sitting at, what was it, 645, 646, something like that, with, drop of 64 rigs. And I'm not being a doomsday guy or whatever, but a lot of the people that I'm watching and following that are way smarter than me, they see it ending up being between 200 and 300 rigs left in the U.S. on land. Now, I hope that's not true, but it would be foolish of us not to even consider that. So we can, if that is what happens, you can start thinking about how does DWS need to be set up, structured, et cetera. And so, to answer your question, the dust settling for us would be not only first and foremost, obviously, for the safety of everybody in the U.S. and all that stuff, but the dust settling with this coronavirus. And then once that does, and the economy starts to kind of get going again, but for you and I on the services side, to where we can look at it and start, offices start opening up, you can kind of tell what the landscape looks like. And I think that's going to be a longer process than, restaurants opening up, obviously, and all that. So I think the oil field is going to look dynamically different when this does bottom and we move out. I think you're going to see, whether it's actual mergers for the definition, but more people coming together, collaborating, services, different ways of doing things, because we're going to, you're going to have to be creative and very innovative. Hey, every company has to make money, right? And so the margins are going to be very thin, but what can you do that helps offset some cost to help do that? And so I think it's going to look dynamically different. I don't know necessarily how yet, but we're trying to be really open-minded and creative right now about being in business just a year. It's almost a chance for us to start over again. So what did we do this past year that we think was really good? And if we now we got the chance, what could we do different, or what could we do change? And I think it's foolish to think that, well, we have a good tool and we had some really good traction and we were doing well, let's just go back to doing that. I think you've got to start thinking, okay, how do we need to be set up for what this new oil field looks like? It can't just be the same old recipe and go back, is kind of our opinion, and that's what we're working towards. The problem is we don't know what that is yet. So,
and you mentioned something. You said you were talking about you have to bring more to the table once once this oil field kind of resurfaces and all that stuff, and that's kind of more of a what I interpreted you saying is value. What value can you add additionally to the service or product that you're offering?
Yes,
customers, consumers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So talking about opportunities such as value and all stuff, what opportunities do you see emerging from this?
That's such a great question, and one that
I'm looking to get rich quick right now, so that's why I'm taking notes right now.
You and me both. So if we just look at DWS and our particular tool, obviously going back and you're looking at costs, right? The tool's got X amount of cost to be built, to be turned around, refurbished, and et cetera. Are there some new technologies out there that maybe we didn't look at originally that could help reduce our cost to build any of those assets, which could help us in turn be more price competitive in the market? Are there some things that we can bolt onto the tool that we're already doing, some additional features and stuff like that, and just getting really creative on what product lines kind of would bounce off? Maybe, we're on the drilling side right now, but we can transition this tool to a completion tool also, which is already done. We just may end up moving that route faster than what we originally anticipated. It's just, but you're brainstorming about all those things to be able to bring value. But there's one thing in terms of value that is always still, that we prided ourselves on this when we started DWS, and it's the customer service side of things. So this is just my opinion, but I don't care if the rig count goes to 100 and the service companies get, dissipated by 60 or 70% or whatever. At the end of the day, you got to have not good, but great customer service.
Right.
You got to have good tools, but at the end of the day, from my experience, people want to do business with who they like and who they know and who they trust is going to take care of them. And so I don't think we as an industry can afford to let that go away.
I think moving forward in the industry, I think relationships are going to be stronger.
Yeah,
I think the relationships when it comes to selling and it's going to be more of a business partnership.
Sure.
It's not going to be operator serviceman. It's going to be more of a relationship based sales, because they're going to have to lean. I don't know if you heard the first one with Mike Tesseri. He was talking about how companies are going to have to start trusting more and relying more and leaning more on their service providers.
Yeah, is the source of knowledge and kind of the professionals about it. Yeah, right. I totally agree.
Well, let's get a little bit more personal now. How have you been during this whole stay at home? What have you been doing? You've been doing anything creative that you've wanted to get into that you haven't, but now with all this time, or what have you been doing?
Well, I have 4 young kids at home, and so that's obviously been a little crazy because 3 of them were in school and all that. But thankfully, my wife was a teacher for 4 years before we had our first boy, which I think him and you hit it off pretty good at Toga last year. So,
Nice.
But she's been awesome because she's kind of she obviously I'm biased, but she was a really good teacher. I knew how much she put her heart into it and all that before we had kids. And so she's been really creative at home and kind of making that work and mixing it up and being fun. And to be honest, I've been coming into the office quite a bit. We've got most of our people here either shift working, turning around tools, trying to comply with everything, if not working remotely. But I've been coming in at least for a little bit most days just to try to knock out some stuff here while they're kind of doing the school thing at home. But to be honest, we've just been, when it's not raining, I mean, I've been playing outside with my boys and, water balloon fights and, just trying to have fun and use a little, because I'm really bad about, you're always thinking about work and what needs to be done, and it ends up kind of consuming you. So going back to what you said earlier, I'm trying, or had been trying, to do a better job of being relevant with my family at home and actually being there and listening and trying to, take advantage of this time to where we can. But I can't complain. I mean, it gets a little crazy some days or whatever, but it's highly entertaining with 4 of them is all I can say. I'm like referee for wrestling matches all the time.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, it's such a good point. It's like, this is such an opportunity to strengthen those bonds with your family. I mean, a lot of times, we're always out, whether it's industry events, whether it's conferences, whether it's golf tournament, whether it's whatever it is, to stay relevant and stay out in front of customers and to get the work, right?
Absolutely.
And I think this is such a unique time where you can be at home, strengthen those relationships with your children, your spouse. So I think that's a good point of view to have on these times right now. So to wrap it up, man, do you have any final messages that you want to relay to our audience?
No, I mean, I don't have anything profound other than I think it's important to fight, especially if you're a sales guy, and maybe some of the operators will even respect this, but try to fight your nature to just be pitching work right now. For me, what I'm trying to be patient and let this dust settle. So things become more clear about what the reality is of our industry and what it looks like. So I would just say, to be patient and let the market do what it's going to do. None of us can control it. Doesn't mean we can't brainstorm or think about, ideas of how to do it, but be patient. And then kind of like you talked about, and we have been, about being relevant in the way that we treat people, outside of just kind of be patient, be kind, use this time as a way to maybe work on some of our own deficiencies, and improve those, because I think they're getting revealed, between everybody cooped up and all that. But just kind of be patient and let this thing evolve, and be supportive of the people who've lost jobs, are losing them, and don't forget about them either when things do kind of settle. Make a list now of people that and 6 months from now, if they're not back, reach out to them. And I think that's some good things that we can do.
Well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. That's an excellent point. It's always good to remember people that have fallen on more unfortunate times than you, and to continue to reach out to them. So anyway, I appreciate you coming again. Everyone, again, this is Taylor Janca with Downhole Well Solutions, managing partner and co-founder. And if you have any questions for him or for us at the show, you can reach us at Round the Rotary at cappetro.com. Again, that's Round the Rotary at cap-petro.com. Appreciate you coming in, and hopefully we can chat soon.
Thank you, JP.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. Tell the family hello.
Thanks, man.